Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special treat for you today on the HammondCast show. We're here with a good friend of ours, known to all of you from his music over the years, and we're here with Peter Albin. How you doing today, Peter?
I'm doing fine there, John. How are you?
About medium well done, but It's still early in the day. It's great to see you. So,
Good to be awake and alive.
Yes, that's for sure. And seeing as you were one of the members of the Dinosaurs, that's saying quite a lot, because you've been around a long time, Peter, and you're looking great, man. I got to tell you.
Thank you very much. I'm feeling my age, though, but still playing and still grooving and listening to your radio station and your program. It's great.
Thank you very much. Well, I really appreciate you coming in to do the show. We're on the East Bay, across the bay from San Francisco today. And I first started hearing you play years ago, back in the 60s. For those of you who don't know, Peter is one of the founding members of Big Brother and the Holding Company. A later addition was Janis Joplin. And you went into the history books with that group, and a lot of great shows. It was a special time in the Bay Area. And so the band formed actually in the Haight-Ashbury area in San Francisco. Is that true?
That's correct. About a block off of Haight Street at a place called 1090 Page Street, corner of Divisadero and actually Broderick and Page Street. Mm-hmm. Block off of Divisadero also. Interesting area, interesting time, about 1965. A lot of students living at the house, about 25 rooms, 30 students, or 30 people living there. Most of them were, like I said, students at SF State College, mm-hmm. including my brother, myself, my roommates, and there was a couple other people who did other odd jobs around town, but mostly young people, and a lot of them very artistic. We had, besides musicians, we had filmmakers, writers, actors, all sorts of different kinds of people. Mm-hmm. Had a good time, too.
I know that address, 1090 Page. It was definitely a
famous place.
Flashpoint, and so many good things came out of there. So when you had your rehearsals, you started out originally as acoustic guitarist?
Yeah, about a few years earlier, I was a guitar player in an old-timey band. We also played bluegrass music, so country, bluegrass, folk, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And also I played some blues. I played acoustic blues guitar. I even backed up Ron McKernan and played around the Bay Area, doing some folk blues type material. Mm-hmm.
Did you play on some of the hootenannies back then?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there still is a radio station, KPFA. It was a Pacifica Foundation station that had a program called Midnight Special.
Oh yeah,
started at 12 o'clock. Gert Kirita was the host, and it was a round robin session mm-hmm. Of about maybe 10 or 11, 12 musicians or groups. I saw Chambers Brothers there, and that was the first time I saw Janis. She was right beside me in one of the sessions, playing guitar and singing, and it was folk and blues.
On the Midnight Special, KPFA.
Right.
All right.
Great show.
That's a piece of history I didn't know about.
Oh, yeah, and a lot of the musicians from the peninsula where I grew up played there, including Jerry Garcia and Bob Hunter and David Nelson, mm-hmm. A lot of the folk guys who later got into rock and roll.
Wow, that's really interesting. And so when you formed the band, your rehearsals also took place at 1090 Page in the beginning?
Right. We were actually the rhythm section. Myself, Chuck Jones, and Sam Andrew were the founding members of the rhythm section that played at the Wednesday night jam sessions that were held in 65, mm-hmm. put on by Chet Helms, who later became our manager. There was another fellow named Paul Ferreras who kind of got the band together. We got another guitar player named Dave Eskison, mm-hmm. and when groups would come in, a lot of times they would use us as a rhythm section, or myself if they didn't have a bass player, or the drummer, or whatever, or the drummer's kit. And it was very much like a neighborhood kind of thing. It was a lot of fun. But we did get some of the people later on that joined up other groups like John Joplin and Jerry Garcia to drop by.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So Chet actually was managing your band. That's a great stroke of fortune. He was a very gentle guy. I had the fortune of knowing Chet over the years, and
very influential guy in the early rock scene in San Francisco. He actually ran the lights of the first Family Dog shows at the Longshoremen's Hall. He didn't produce those shows. Those were produced by 4 other people.
I remember the Jerry Abrams headlights.
That's another one. Yeah, there's a lot of light shows, but basically Chet just ran a big Super Trooper spotlight and didn't do much in the way of psychedelic lights.
I see.
That came on later, but through that association with those people, and then they left, and he kind of took over the name Family Dog and started his shows at the Fillmore Auditorium every other weekend with Bill Graham. And then later they split, and he got hold of the Avalon Ballroom, and that's when those Avalon Ballroom shows, Family Dog shows at the Avalon Ballroom started. About I want to say probably February or probably March or April of '66.
Right. Yeah, that was a great time. I used to go to those Avalon shows a lot, and I enjoy them so much. And so Chet actually he had an idea to put you together. You were sort of the house band.
Yeah, well, actually, it was this guy Paul Ferrers who had the idea of putting us together as a band, and then Chet, being that he was the organizer of the Wednesday night jam sessions, kind of like, wormed his way into management. So they both managed, and then Paul went his own way, and Chet remained. And Chet brought in another guitar player named James Gurley. Because Dave Eskison was underage, so we couldn't work a lot of clubs. So that's how James got involved, is through knowing Chet Helms. James was living at what they call the Dog House on Pine Street. And that's where some of the members of the Family Dog, the original promoters, lived. And so he came over and strapped a DeArmond pickup to an acoustic guitar and started playing electric. He had played acoustic for a long time and played fingerstyle and continued to play fingerstyle guitar. He just seemed to change his style a little bit to fit what we were doing. We were doing some blues, but we also did some covers of rock and roll songs, and then we also did some rockified folk tunes that I had done in the past.
Interesting. Well, when Janis joined the band, you guys hit your first gigs lickety split, so you had to get a set together pretty quick.
Yeah,
and I know you've been writing some tunes too.
Oh yeah.
So did you do any originals in the beginning?
I can't remember now whether when Janis entered into it. I think we had a couple of originals, or we had adapted. Like "Down on Me" is one that was a folk song, gospel, spiritual kind of tune that we adapted into the rock idiom. And Janis actually changed the words. When she came involved in the group, then she added some of her own lyrics. And she brought in a couple of songs too that she had changed, that were old blues or folk tunes. That she had changed the lyrics and contemporized them.
Who brought Ball and Chain in?
Well, that was we saw Big Mama Mae Thornton at a club called the Both Ann on Arrow Street, not too far away from 1090, and we liked the song Ball and Chain that she did, and we went backstage and asked her if we could, use it in our act, and she said, "Go ahead, but definitely you pay me the royalties if you get it on record."
Wow.
So it did get on record, and the royalties actually amounted to enough to buy her a Cadillac car.
On the big 1550 in San Francisco.
And one thing I gotta say from the Ames brothers back in the 50s, I'm in love with you.